I just want to share with you guys a little method, a little technique I like to use when dealing with my drawers and solid wood panels. So as you can see, this is a drawer for a cabinet I'm doing right now. All the inside is pre-finished, including the drawer bottom. I use conversion varnish. It's just a really nice finish. I like the way it looks, and it's very durable. So this inside is done. The outside obviously still has a lot of work left to do. And before I get to that, before I finish sanding anything out, I need to go ahead and locate this panel in the center of the front and back of this drawer to basically pin it to allow it to move seasonally. So this panel is a 1/4 inch thick. It's made out of ash. It's going to expand and contract seasonally. It's really important before I put this panel in this drawer box, before I glued this guy together, I went ahead and measured the panel, and I put some blue tape down and I marked the center of the panel. If I didn't do that and I just put this together, I would have no idea where the center was of this panel. So you need to not forget this, very important step. The reason that's important is what I'm aiming for is I want this panel to be centered from front to back. I'm going to pin it, and this allows it to expand and contract equally from the center. You can get yourself in trouble if you push this panel all to one side and then you pin it down and it expands and contracts, or you don't pin it down, it ends up moving the entire distance, this entire whatever 20 inches this is, it's going to just happen one way, and you could end up having a gap, you could end up breaking out the drawer front, it could just give you a lot of issues. So real simple, blue tape, mark it down. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to check it now, and I'm going to show you how I like to pin the panel in. So 9 3/8. This guy looks good. So, you know, the panel's sitting where it needs to be right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toothpick this. I'll show you how I do that. There's nothing real original about using toothpicks for panels, but it works really well, just little mini dowels. Another thing I like to mention, you can notice the grain, the direction the grain's going. So these are my sides, this is my front and back. In my case, there's no hardware, there's no drawer slides. It's going to be running off of the drawer sides itself, so there's no mechanical drawer slides. This will get waxed, and that's how it's going to work, so it's a tight fit. Now, if I ran the grain front to back, what's going to happen, it's going to expand and contract this way, and potentially could give you issues. It's going to want to bind these sides in a case itself. So it's really important that you have this from front to back. Another thing is my sides are 1/2 inch thick, my front and back's 5/8. The main reason for this is that I can make the groove deeper in here and here. I'm somewhat limited on the 1/2 inch. I don't want to go any more than 1/4. It could start weakening this. But in here I could go at least 3/8 of an inch front and back, which gives me that room for this panel to move, expand and contract. So let's go ahead and pin it. I've already got a little bit of glue on here. I'm going to go ahead, you know, the nice thing about these are already tapered. Obviously that tape is a little too much, so I'm just going to come back. I'm going to trim the little end off. But I've still left a little taper there. So now I'm just going to split that in two. I know that from this top edge down it's a 1/2 inch, and then my drawer bottom itself is a 1/4 inch. So I need to go at least 3/4 of an inch. So I've already marked it, I put a little mark here in the center. I can bring this guy. Oh, draw that out. Where are those guys? Now, as far as the bit goes, I'm not actually sure what size bit this is. But usually I just get my calipers, put it on the toothpick, and then go find a bit that's a little undersized and obviously test it before I do it. So now I've got the hole, I'll put the tapered side down, a little bit of glue on the end. That looks good. And before I do the next one, and I already noticed this side is bowing out, this side's actually pretty true. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this shim in here and I'm going to clamp it. Alright, I want to make sure these things are running true front and back. Now I'll go ahead and drill this guy out. Put that little tapered side, helps it start in the hole. Let's see here. Alright. So now this panel is where it needs to be. I'll just double check, make sure it pinned it, it looks good. Take the tape off. Clean it up a little bit. Now I've still got, I mentioned this still needs sanding. I've still got a lot of work to do on this, hand planing. That's why I like to go ahead and take care of these before I go sanding it. That just saves me time. I have to go back and forth. But that's it. So now this panel will move seasonally, front and back, expand and contract, and it's pinned in the middle to allow it to do that.